So I want to start first with the Knicks and the Pistons. I think a lot of people knew and understood what type of possible outcomes we were going to get in this series. This series has been really fun and entertaining as a fan. Now, if you're a Knicks fan, currently you're probably pretty happy. You're happy with the outcome. The Knicks lead the series 2-1. The Knicks, unfortunately, for the first two games, they split. They lost game 2. And when you lose game 2 and you hosted it, you lost home court advantage. So that obviously was probably something that was really bothering a lot of Knicks fans, and I'm sure was bothering the Knicks too. For the Pistons, you took one of the two games in New York. That is huge. And actually, and I talked about this in my previous video, I think the Pistons have had control of most of those two games. If it wasn't for that really, really bad late run in the second game, I mean, there's a version of, or in the first game, there's a version of this where the Pistons are actually up in the series. They'd be the ones that could be up 2-0. They could be up 3-0. Like, that's how close the series is. These teams just match up really, really well with each other in terms of these games being close, these games being hard fought. And the most recent one definitely, I think, exemplifies that. All right, so the game was close all the way down to the wire. The Pistons made it very interesting. They ended up running out of time at the end of the game. But I would say that currently the way this series sits, I would give the edge to the Knicks. I think the Knicks are in control of the series. And the reason why I say that is because they took game 3 from the Pistons in Detroit. Now, if Detroit had won this game, if they won game 3, then I think the Pistons would be in the clear driver's seat situation, because they took one in New York and then they would have been up 2-1, right? Now they're down 2-1. And then if the Pistons could win game 4, well, then the series is 3-1 going back to New York. And the Pistons could potentially close out the series and put all the pressure on the Knicks. Right now, I don't think the pressure is on the Knicks. Right now, I think there's balance to the pressure. I think both teams feel it. Obviously, it's the playoffs. There's always going to be pressure. But I do think that the Knicks have found a way to claw back into some games. They forced the Pistons into some really bad runs where the Pistons had trouble scoring. And some of that is on Cade Cunningham. Some of that is on some of that, I don't know, we'll call it like a lack of offensive execution for long stretches. I mean, you're asking for trouble. When you can't score points in the playoffs, you can't have quarters where you're scoring 13, 15, 16 points. And if you are going to have those kind of quarters, you're going to have to lock it down defensively. And I think that's what the Pistons are kind of realizing. These Knicks, they've got a couple really nice players. Karl Anthony Towns really showed up in a big way against the Pistons in the last game. Karl Anthony Towns had 31 points, had 8 rebounds. Looking at some of the other guys, kind of the supporting cast, OG had 22, Bridges had 20, Brunson had 30. Brunson was fantastic. He had 9 assists, 7 boards. That's really all you had. So, there was quite a bit of impact, I think, from Karl Anthony Towns, and he's had a tendency to disappear in games. Brunson has been huge for them in the series. He's been a difference maker. So kind of looking at the rest of the roster, Mitchell Robinson, 2 points in 60 minutes of action. That's not going to get it done. That means Karl Anthony Towns is going to have to be really, really good. And same thing with Jalen Brunson. They're going to basically have to carry the mail. When you got Josh Hart getting you 6 points, Mitchell Robinson get you 2 points, Miles McBride 3 points, Campaign 4. You're just not getting much from anybody else. Now, for the Pistons, they, obviously they move the ball really well, and guys get opportunities. Jalen Duren got 16 points and 8 rebounds in the last game. He was involved in a little bit of a skirmish with Mitchell Robinson and Karl Anthony Towns and that little mix-up. But you're getting some productivity from him. Cade's been really good in some spots. He's looked really, really good. Dennis Schroeder was huge in the last game, was knocking down some threes. Malik Beasley was, knocking down some shots in some important moments. But I think probably the most positive surprise for the Pistons was Tim Hardaway Jr. really coming through in the last game, knocking down some threes. He logged 36 minutes and had 24 points. So I think the Pistons obviously really need to win this game. In fact, if the Pistons don't win game 4, unfortunately, I like the Knicks to win the series in 5. Right? I do think that's how it's going to go, because the Pistons would be playing with their back up against the wall in hostile territory in New York, in Madison Square Garden, probably feeling a lot of pressure to have to perform and win. That's a tough position for a team that kind of lacks experience together, especially, first-time guys like Cade Cunningham, who is your most important and most valuable player, it's going to be a lot to ask. And I think at that point, the Knicks would feel like they're in control of the series. They wouldn't feel like they have to press. They would be a little bit more relaxed, looking at it as a closeout game at home. I think they probably could do it. So I think Game 4, I think it's kind of a must-win for the Pistons, because if they don't win Game 4 in Detroit, they're going back to New York down 3-1, and it's a closeout game for the Knicks. A game which I think Karl Anthony Towns would give the Pistons a lot of problems. A game where I think Brunson probably blows up for a big game. And if any of the supplemental guys, the secondary guys like OG or whoever, if they step up and they perform, it's going to be too hard to probably fight back, if you're the Pistons. Not to say they can't do it, I just don't like their chances. So this, in my opinion, has been one of the most fun series to watch. Game in and game out, we're seeing close, contested games. Detroit has to address those offensive stretches where they just don't score points, and the Knicks are closing out those leads, and then they're taking the lead themselves. They're doing damage to the Pistons, closing the lead gaps and then kind of creating their own. JB Bickerstaff's going to have to figure out, what can he do to help his guys get out of those ruts. Tom Thibodeau's got his guys locked in. They believe they can beat the Pistons. They're up 2-1. They have the advantage taking that game in Detroit. They took home court back. Now I think the pressure shifts a little bit to the Pistons, who are kind of out of position in this particular case. But again, this is one of my favorite ones. This is one of my favorite series in round one.